to another edition of Hands Up for Trad TV. It's been another brilliant week in the world of Scottish traditional music. We're particularly excited about the Edinburgh Youth Gaitherin Big Band, a fantastic 3-day programme for young musicians aged 13 to 18. With support from the William Grant Foundation, this opportunity will be led by some of Scotland's finest musicians, including Kate Young, Tom Oakes and Dave Milligan. They'll be working with young people on the 26th of April and the 3rd, 4th and 5th of May. It's wonderful to see these opportunities for the next generation of traditional musicians. You'll get more information at handsupfortrad.scot, where you can also support our work. Now today I'm delighted to welcome Findlay Napier to the programme. Finlay is one of Scotland's most accomplished songwriters and performers, and he's just released his new album Outsider, an innovative project that's not just a collection of brilliant songs, but also an augmented reality coffee table book. It's a fascinating approach to releasing music in today's digital world. Finlay, it's great to have you here today.
Lovely to be with you. Thanks for having me on. Much appreciated.
So congratulations on the new album. The title, Outsider, seems significant. What drew you to this theme and how did it shape the album's direction?
I kind of stumbled on it. I had a lot of songs. Like I think I had 45. I think it was 45 songs, and which is too many for an album, really. With the best will in the world, it's like, yeah, sometimes more isn't more. Do you know what I mean? So my Jen Anderson, who runs the Bothy Society, and who's the person I speak to at the Bothy Society, who's the record company that I've put It Is What It Is out on, suggested that I get a spreadsheet on the go and just write down the themes of all the songs. And I started writing about the songs, and this word just kept coming up. And I ended up with quite a lot of songs. I kind of had Outsider in Love, Outsider in Life, and then just some that were sort of like outsider. So the project grew from there, these outsiders. Some of the songs were in other pots as well. So I now have a spreadsheet with all of my new songs, all the songs I'm writing, you know, like try and write a song a song a week rather. Sometimes write more than that, but and then I put them into pots, and if it doesn't pot, then I start a new pot. If that makes sense. And eventually one of the pots will be full to the point where, you know, like, well, there's 20 songs. That's enough to start shaping an album. So Outsider was a sort of general one for this. And I went to her and said, I think it's called Outsider. And I think at that point I had 19 songs. And then Boo Hewerdine was helping me choose the songs, and he managed me to get it from 19 down to 21 by writing a bunch of extra songs. So, which is absolutely brilliant. It's like, you're supposed to come here to make this easier, and what we've done is did harder. That's kind of how it came about. So some of the songs are like just general outsider people. Some of them are sort of kind of made up stories about, like, there's one that I find quite funny is called Inky Fingers, which is like a sort of teenager who's scribbling all over the walls of his school his love for this girl. Not actually speaking to her, and you know, he thinks he's a grand romantic, but actually he's a pain in the arse, and so he's like one of the outsiders.
So you mentioned Boo there. You've worked with them. Well, you've added to your song collection with Boo, and you've been working with them for ages. And so, when you have an idea for an album, is he the first person you contact?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I mean, what I'll definitely do with him is I kind of trust my own judgment, songwriting wise. And when I'm looking for a producer, I'm looking for somebody, obviously, who can help with the sort of the recording process, you know, and push me a wee bit harder than I would push myself. But the thing that Boo's brilliant at is the actual song writing itself. So when I go to him, I'm going to him going like, is this song good enough? Is there something that can make this better? So quite a lot of the stuff. So we wrote a few songs from scratch, but there's some other ones where I had done a little bit of work or a lot of work, and I really needed his input because I was like, I can see this. I have a kind of idea of this, but I just can't get it finished, and it's making me really unhappy because I can't quite get there. And so Boo kind of helps me get it over the line, if you like. And I think that's a really important thing. And it's very difficult. I find it very difficult to do that myself. Weirdly, I find it quite easy to do for other people, and I think maybe, I don't know about Boo, but maybe he's the same, where it's like someone else will play me a song. I'm working with somebody just after I come off this. I've got one-to-one on Zoom with someone, and it's the same thing where they're going to play me songs, and I'm going to go, oh, do this and change that, and this needs to be shorter, and you need to get to this point quicker, or what of this, like there's so much going on in the song, I can't see the wood for the trees kind of thing. So that's kind of what Boo will do for me. And there'll be other songs where just basically all I need is just somebody to go, good boy, pat on the head, good, well done, next song. I guess we all kind of need that.
And then you've got
so he brings that, but I mean, he also, to this project, he brought that. Then he brought his kind of like, we very quickly latched onto a sound that we were looking for. I had a thing and I played it to him and he went, yes, you are right. This is what this album should be. And then he went, let's go to the correct studio to make this happen. Let's get the correct people to make it work. So he was choosing the cast and crew, if you like. And he was also like listening and going, that is not the right guitar sound for this, or this needs this sound, so he was taking part in all of that. And yeah, the when it comes to mixing and stuff, my concentration is not great, so he was involved. He and Mark Freegard had a lot of conversations about mixing before I was involved, because they both know, having worked with me since 2013, that when it comes to mixing, I'm best to come in at the end and because I'm good at the end for short periods of time. I'm great, but I shouldn't be there all the time because my mind wanders. And Angus Lyon will tell you about like the Barham Mountaineers. It's like, what do you think about that, Finn? And I'm just fast asleep on the sofa at the back of the studio, absolutely KO'd. So. I have certain strengths and certain weaknesses, and it's like Boo helped me put a team around me that was people who played to their strengths and I played to mine. So it worked very well in that respect, this project.
And well done on bringing us right to the next question, talking about teams. Tell me about the musicians on the album.
So I've knew everybody just about. So who did Liam Chapman? I shared a studio with, and I've played with Liam a few times. We had a studio in Glasgow, which I think he's still there. It was me, Ewan Burton, Boo, and Chris Drever were the first floor in that, and there's been various people that have been in that studio. So when Ewan left, we brought in Liam came in. I can't remember who's all in it now. It's quite funny, like the people that have sort of lived in that space and written. And the Blue Nile had it before us, and it was Mark Freegard's studio before that. So it was quite exciting that we kind of kept this place going. Anyway, so that's how I met Liam and playing with him. So he's the drummer. The bass player, Kevin Maguire, I met when I was supporting Eddie Reader. And Boo works with him all the time. He was like, Kev is the man for the job for this album for sure. So he was on it. Angus Lyon, obviously, I work with him frequently, almost as frequently as I work with Boo. One of my best mates, so I just love working with him. And yeah, his vision and my vision we don't really need to talk that much. We just get stuff done. So that was great, and he recorded a whole load of the backing vocals and stuff, but Angus also added piano and accordion. And then Karina Smiley, I met on a songwriting thing that I did online. She was one of the students on a Bird on the Wire thing, and I was talking to her in a one-to-one, and we got talking about singing. She's a singing teacher, and I was about to go out on an Eddie Reader tour actually after lockdown, and I was freaking out about my vocals. Like, God, I haven't done a gig for ages, and I don't know how my voice will hold up. You know, like I've done stuff on Zoom, but it's like, you know, this to a microphone that's a... And I just wanted I just needed a singing lesson. So I did a few singing lessons with Karina. And then I thought, God, this would be great on an album. And we worked with her on the Stages project at Acclaim, which was like a kind of songwriting. We did everything from like songwriting, where I was involved in the start of the project, we were songwriting, but Boo took them through songwriting, like your photographs, writing your biography. Then we got them ready for the stage. Then we got them to the studio. So then they recorded in a studio, and then they made an album, and then they released that. And then we did a weekend where we did like stage stuff with them, and then we did a gig in Eden Court. So it was this huge sort of arcing project that lasted quite a few months. Brilliant idea, actually. I hope we get to do it again. Creative Scotland, if you're listening. It was an absolutely incredible project, and Karina was on that, and we'd done like hanging out and singing on that, and it was like, right, we're going to go to do Outsider. She will be the Linda Thompson to my Richard Thompson. That was the kind of idea. So we drank loads of vodka and threw things at each other just to get in the vibe.
And do you have a favourite song on the album?
The thing that my favourite one is an outsider in itself, and it's "Call Me If You Need Me," because that song. Most of my songs, if you've followed my work, are stories about other people, or entirely fictional. But this song is actually about me, and it contains feelings. Yuck. So I'm really pleased with it. And I don't know if you've ever seen these. I actually happen to be sitting here because this is the room I work in. This is my studio. But these creativity cards, the Laura Vere's creativity cards, and I used these, and then I wrote this song, and I was very surprised at the result, because it was not like anything else I usually write. It was very different. And that's why I'm really pleased with it. And not only that, I then played it to an audience, and like people were crying and came up to me after the gig and were like, "Oh my God, I love that song." And I thought, right, okay, something has happened here that doesn't usually happen on my gigs. So,
well, let's have just a wee listen to it, just a short section. Here it is.
Remember when you're on your own, there's always someone on the phone. Call me if you need me. Remember there is one of you, and everyone is different too. Reach out, be patient, I love you. One can be alone, quiet and still, and not be lonely. Two can be tricky, but it helps to share the load. Remember, if you can, stay true to the universe.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And that was probably the first. It was like the first and last thing to get recorded for the album, which is weird. It started out at Angus Lyon's studio, and it went to Chem 19, and then came back to came back to Grant's house to get finished off. So that song itself really went on a journey. At one point in it as well, there's 3 drum kits, which I quite enjoy. And at the end, you don't get to hear that on that clip, but yeah, the 3 drum kits at the end is pretty epic. I forgot to say as well, actually, one of the most exciting things that happened was that Neil McCall came and played electric guitar on the record, and I don't think I've even spoken to Neil on the telephone. Like that was Boo's doing. Although we've exchanged quite a few emails and discovered a shared love of the Grateful Dead. So, which has been just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think the really nice thing is that Neil had a whole bunch of work cancelled, and Outsider sort of landed in his lap, and he sort of said, this is what I needed. Like, he really, really, really loved it. And his wife was saying to Boo that she was like, oh my God, who the hell is this Findlay Napier bloke? Like, I can't get Neil out of the studio. He's just up there whittling about on his guitar, which I think is great, He obviously was just like, this is brilliant, which I need. It's like everybody likes people to say nice things about what they do, but when it's someone like that, it's a great honour, No,
that's really lovely. I mean, one of the things from that clip is you probably don't get is you were aiming for a bit of a folk rock sound with Outsider, and I mean, is that a deliberate shift that you were making?
Don't know how much of a shift it is. I think it's just that, like, because I had this extra budget that I'm not used to having, like, the reason I don't have bass and drums and, on a lot of my other albums isn't because I don't want bass and drums on them. It's because I don't have any money. Do you know what I mean? It's like I just can't afford it. I don't like. For people that don't know, like, recording a drum kit takes hours. So the first day at Chem 19, the first day at Chem 19 was just getting the drum sound. Like, I couldn't believe it. I know I was saying to, like, Louis Abbott from Admiral Fallow, my mate, I was like, it took a day, Louis, a day to do the drums. I mean, what is going on there? And he was like, yes, Finlay, that is how rock bands make albums. It's like, but a day, like, I just put a microphone in front of the guitar and a microphone in front of my voice, and I can have an album in 2 days. He's like, yes, but then when you have drums, no. So, but it was hilarious. It was like it took a day to get the drums and the bass. Well, the bass didn't take very long. The drums took ages and ages. And then we recorded Running the Light, which is the opening track. And take one of Running the Light was like, right, that's good. Do you want to do another one? We're like, well, yeah. We're like, well, maybe do we need to? It's like, yeah. So I think we did 3 takes of Running the Light. So the whole day of drums was worth it. And then we came in the next few days and we started rattling through the songs, which is more my kind of vibe. But yeah, like the folk rock sound thing, it's funny. It's very difficult, I find, to describe what it is that I do. And folk rock is by probably the closest thing. Like, I grew up listening to Wolfstone and Runrig and John Martin and that, like that sort of thing. So, like, what I don't really know what that is other than folk rock, early Bob Dylan, the band, that kind of stuff. That was what I was into, and that is folk rock, and that's the sound that I've always aimed for. And then when I was a student, or maybe after that, I can't remember when it came out, but I got that Richard Thompson album, Mock Tudor. And I loved that just for the fact that it had these sort of rockers on it, like proper good, like upbeat, quite heavy rock songs, but with Richard's voice. So I was like, I could do that, but with my voice. And then I also like the fact that on that album, there's also just acoustic guitar and vocal. There's a couple of tracks that are just dead simple acoustic guitar and vocal. So it was just that, having that range. And I was like, this is to me as a good blueprint. And then Boo said, oh, have you heard the album Mirror Blue? And he was like, in his head, he was like, the album that we're going to make is Mirror Blue, which happens to be the album before Mock Tudor. I didn't know that. So then I listened to that and, of course, called him up, 45 minutes later or whatever, and was like, yes, we are on the right page here. And then when we went in the studio, the first thing we did at Chem 19 was we put up Mirror Blue and Mock Tudor and listened to them while Liam was assembling his gigantic drum kit. And listened to it through the speakers, and Jamie Savage was able to go, oh, I know what he's done here with the voice. I can hear what he's done with the drums. I know what he's done with the bass. So Jamie is immediately placing microphones and, setting things with flashing lights and meters that go like this, so that he's getting the sound that he wants. And for the more acoustic things, I'd actually done them a couple of months before in Saltwell Studio, which is Chris Pepper's place down in Cambridge, and that's which was and we same approach. We played a couple of those songs. Chris kind of knew anyway what we were doing, and we set up and we worked very quickly. I mean, I think we recorded 10 songs or something in 2 days, some of which didn't make the cut. And I think only one song actually never made the cut, and the rest are over the album and an extended album. And then Chris, obviously, I don't know if have you come across Chris Pepper before? No, right. Well, Boo works with Chris quite a lot, and he's very like Angus Lyon. He's a musician that owns a recording studio, great engineer and a producer. Chris plays drums very, very well, bass, guitar, piano, and various keyboards. So when you go there, you can actually, as a solo songwriter, you can just make an entire album with all the parts on it. But basically we just focused on guitar, and then Chris added bass, and he's got a really interesting collection of keyboards, and so he added keyboards and weird noises and and stuff like that. So he really sort of coloured that part, but because Boo had spoken to him, he knew what we were aiming for. So we kind of left Saltwell Studio. I think that was in August. I did it between Magpie Art gigs. When I left Saltwell Studio, we had quite a lot of the material in the bag. Some of that was augmented by drums and bass when we got to Chem 19. Some of it is what you hear is what we had when we left the studio.
That's wonderful. No, it's great actually. So, we talk about you're talking about sort of a lot of sort of 60s, 70s music here, and it's amazing music. But you're right bang up to date, and you've released this augmented reality coffee table book as well. What is it?
Well, basically, I heard that the Trad Music Awards had like a section for like interesting media releases, and I was like, how can I tap into that? No, the real reason is that I have been sort of fighting with Spotify in my head, and I was talking to Jen from the Bothy Society about, what should I do? And she said, well, listen, I'm going to do this thing called an album book with Ross White, and he's already started. Let me send you a couple of pages of the book just to show you. And I looked at it and I went, oh my God, that looks absolutely amazing. And it does. I mean, I've Ross's book, you can see a little bit of it if you look online, the cover and a couple of, and it's like, this is classy. And I was like, I could do that. Like, I could do that. She kind of talked me through the idea that most people are listening to music on streaming, but when you listen to music on streaming, you don't get any stuff to listen to. To read. You get lots of stuff to listen to. God, loads of it. But you don't get anything to read. And I always loved that about the CD covers. You get don't know if you remember Dick Gawkins' album Sail On, and it was just like you went through, it was like amazing. Or Jim Hunter had an album called The Crack of Noon Club, and it had like headshots of all the band. Like, who are these people? And inside it said Chainsaw by Husker Vanner. which because there's a chainsaw on one of the bits, and I always thought that was funny. And it was like flat wound. Brian McAlpine uses flat wound accordion strings, and I was like, man, I didn't even know accordions had strings. Just like silly stuff that they put in the sleeves that you wouldn't normally pick up on, and I loved all that and poured over it. And Jen was the same, and that's kind of how the book started. And then it kind of grew arms and legs, really. So now it's a songbook at the back, so you can play along with all the tracks. There's very in-depth liner notes, loads and loads of photographs, and then there's various kind of essays. There's a sort of amusing essay about recording vocals, like a sort of funny thing I wrote about recording vocals that's also quite useful. A light-hearted view on recording, and a whole bunch of ideas about songwriting and my songwriting process that sort of name checks a lot of people I've taken ideas from. So it's quite amazing how it's come out. I mean, there's a reason why the album is almost a year to the day late. It's because it's quite a lot of process. But then there's on top of that, there's the augmented reality. So you hold your phone over the book, or your iPad over the book, and there's videos and certain bits. There's like my notebook that I write my songs in, so like scribbled notes, like this kind of thing. There's all of that of how the songs kind of being born and developing as well. So there's a whole lot of really pretty cool stuff actually in there.
And it is amazing. As I say, I have seen it, and it is really interesting, and it's definitely, we're always trying to work out, in these times of, no royalties or no royalties worth really talking about through Spotify and everything, how we can bridge the income gap. And this sounds like a fantastic idea, with also all these extra videos. It's a bit like, suppose, reading the newspaper in Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's actually exactly like that. Yeah, God, I never thought of that. Yeah, it is like that. I'm going to use that on every other podcast that I talk on, by the way. It kind of is like that. And I mean, I think as well, I don't expect people to sit down and read it in one sitting, but I think for what folk will do is they'll dip in and out of it. It's the sort of book I would like to find in someone's bathroom, that they're chipping away at it. That's probably how it should be approached. Just have it lying around and just put the record on and then have a wee read. But I think for folk that listen on Spotify, it'll be absolutely fantastic. Obviously, I would like people to buy the CD, but I've become more and more aware that folk just simply don't buy CDs because they don't have a way of playing them anymore. Mm-hmm. They need to buy crap old second-hand cars like I do. You always get a CD player in one of them.
So, I mean, how do you buy the CD and book? Do they come together? Do they come separately?
You've got a choice. So you can buy the CD like this, fancy pants, just a CD like that, or you can buy the book with a download which has 16 tracks in it, or you can buy the book with a CD which has 16 tracks. So what you get on Spotify and what you get on the album is 12 tracks. You get like a standard length album, but if you buy the book, you get the full package. So I don't know if you remember ages ago when we started talking before I got very excited, I talked about the 3 EPs idea, which was Outsider in Love, Outsider in Life, and Outsider. So the CD that comes with the book is those three EPs as they were meant to be, in 3 blocks. So,
and will people be able to buy the book on, say, Amazon, or is it all via your website at findlaynapier.co.uk?
It'll either be findlaynapier.com, thebothysociety.com is the way to go, or bandcamp.com. Now, I think that the way that the Bothy Society works is that everything is on Amazon. Anyway, I think it's all there. But I mean, really the best way to go is just go straight to the Bothy Society and don't, or Bandcamp. If Bandcamp's your thing, go to Bandcamp. It's always been great. But yeah, the Bothy Society or my website, or Bandcamp. And then on the 4th of April, tomorrow, depending on when you're listening to this. You will get the 12 tracks on all the streaming platforms, at which point you'll be consumed by guilt and you'll rush out and buy the book.
So, talking about your creative process now, I love this quote. You've been described as a miracle lyricist.
I know, that, which is a lovely thing. That was in the Herald. That was in a real newspaper. I don't know if you remember them. They were made of paper. Yeah. So when you're writing a song, what is your approach to songwriting? Do they just appear out of nothing, or is it a lot of hard work? It depends. Sometimes they do appear out of nothing, but the thing is, sometimes you have to make the nothing. And what I mean by that is, like, do wee exercises to get things going. So I do quite a little bit of object writing, which is a trick I got from various people. Use that. I find it incredibly useful. Sometimes it's garbage. I mean, those creativity cards, a lot of years creativity cards, any writers get these. If you write plays or poetry or short stories, these work for that. They're brilliant. You have a song, and I've yet to do this, and I want to do this with those cards, is get a poet, a playwright, and a short story writer and a songwriter, and give them the same cards and see what they got at the end of it, because I think that would be fascinating, because we would all have the same 3 cards, but we'd all output a different thing. Anyway, usually that, or like a little idea will come to me, or I'll be listening to a podcast. Like yesterday I was listening to a Blind Boy podcast. I've got kind of obsessed by Blind Boy, and there was something in that grabbed my ear, and I thought, I'm going to write a song about that. Or I was listening to the good old Grateful Dead podcast the day before when I was out running with the dogs, and they were talking about a Phil Lesh track called 11s that I think is in 11/4 or 11/8. And I very rarely stray out of, 6/8, 12/8, 4/4, 3/4, and I was like, I wonder what it'd be like. So I wrote a song in 7/8, which I've never done. Like, I set up a click track in 7/8, and then I played some chords to it, and then I wrote a song over the top of that. So I work in all different ways, but usually there's a grain of some kind of idea, and then out of that I start writing. I'm part of a thing which I highly recommend, actually, called I Heart Songwriting Club, which is a woman called Francesca de Valance, who's based in Australia, and it costs $30 or something. I can't remember how much it is. It's not that much money for a 10-week term, and every week you get sent an idea to write a song, and then you have to submit it on their website, and you're in a group, and other people comment on what you've written, and you can comment on what they've written, and it's kind of like a peer review thing, but it's quite low key. Like, nobody's chasing you to write a song every week, but if you can, that's good. I've never ever managed 10 out of 10 weeks. I've been doing it in fact, see if I look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on the album at least are I Heart Songwriting Club, weekly challenges. So, it paid off, and it just kept my head in the game, if you like. And some of them are exactly as I submitted them, and some of them have been edited after the fact. I think that's another thing as well. But I think a lot of people think you write a song and that's it. No. It then gets edited and shaped, and in some cases completely rewritten, and only, like, maybe only the lyric remains, or only the melody remains. So there will be some will come out whole. See how you said, like, some really hard work and some not. The ones that get completely reworked, they are hard work, but the ones that come out in one thing, like Call Me If You Need Me, that was literally 15 minutes. A very, very lucky 15 minutes. So,
and how would you say your songwriting has evolved since all your early days with Back of the Moon?
Well, Back of the Moon, I didn't really write that much for. I think I only wrote one song for Back of the Moon, Ship in a Bottle. And I wrote that with Nick Turner. So Nick Turner kind of got me restarted writing, really. I'd sort of stopped writing songs completely. I just got better at it and faster at it, and I learned loads from working with Nick, like loads and loads and loads. And then when I started working with Boo, I think one of the things was that I started to make things simpler. A lot of what I did with Boo was making things simpler. Like Nick and I had so much fun, but a lot of what we wrote was quite dense and complex, and sometimes the forms were really complex and dense, which was great because we loved Elvis Costello, and it kind of really, it really sort of had that Elvis Costello aesthetic, I guess. But I think because of that, it made some of the songs quite difficult for people to cover, and I don't think it made them difficult to connect with, but I think it made them difficult to cover, and I really wanted people to cover my songs. So one of the things I did with Boo was just like trimming down all the time. Like, this is very complex. Like, what is it you're actually trying to say? You know, like really try and make things simpler, and that's kind of what I think has happened, is that the songs have got simpler and therefore easier to take on as an audience member.
Now, I remember back in the day when you did a stand-up comedy course, and it was totally amazing that you did it, you know, and I remember you telling me all about it and how the difficulties and all these kind of things. And so I'm just interested how it's maybe influenced your music and your stage presence, and I know that you're also using the skills you gain with it to run courses. In fact, you've got one coming up in Arran quite soon.
Oh no, I don't. I organised that. I took part in it as a participant. I just organised it. So that was with Paul Silky White, who's a great comic. He's based in Leeds. He's originally from Liverpool, and he's become a good pal. And he's also, by the way, a phenomenal guitar player. Like, he's a very good singer and a very good guitar player, and an excellent stand-up comic. So we've got a lot in common. And I think I met him through Chris Drever and Boo Hewerdine. I think he'd maybe been getting some lessons from Chris, and certainly he was a fan of Boo's. So yeah, the stand-up comedy course I went on originally was the one in Glasgow that is running. It runs all the time, and it's by Viv G, who is a brilliant comic. She's great, and she's an excellent teacher. And so I did that course, which was is it 8 weeks, or I think it's an 8-week night class. If you have any kind of level of stage fright, or you just don't know what to do, and you're a musician, about standing up on stage, like you're just not 100% comfortable, go and do Viv's course, because she will be well looked after. Nothing that she makes you do will make you uncomfortable. And the same thing with Silky's courses. It was just, it's about creativity, and it's about taking small but careful risks, you know. And you realise how small a risk it is very quickly. You know, like, you just have to be silly, which is actually really good fun, and you have to play around, which is fun, you know. So yeah, and in terms of how it changed my thing, like, I always told stories between songs, but it gave me the tools to make them slicker and funnier, and just like connect with the audience. And it also, like, reading a room, you get very good at reading a room very quickly. You can feel them turning. Like, a guy walked into the room in Edinburgh the other week at the back of the room, and the minute he walked in, I was like, that guy is trouble, and he's with another guy, and they started chatting a bit, and then I was like, that guy is going to cause more trouble, and he started heckling me from the back of the room, and it was just like, you can't tell someone like that to F off, because the audience are like, well, that's a bit cruel. You can't just tell, you know, you have to sort of give them enough rope to hang themselves. And these are the kind of things of just being like, this is all fine. Everyone, this is fine. Like, this is all good. Don't worry. I'm in control here. Everything's going to be fine. And eventually I was like, I asked them politely to leave, and everyone was like, whoa, which is great. But it's like, giving me the confidence to do that was, and to let things play out and not force my hand. I've only had to do that a couple of times in my career, but I've had to deal with heckles loads. Another thing is, people are like, oh, what do you do about hecklers? People tend not to heckle. The worst heckle you might get on a folk gig is like a helpful heckle, which disrupts you, I think you'll find it was Tan Lin, or something like that. It was actually Dick Gaughan in 1974. Or what the classic one was, the Vincent Black Lightning was not in fact a motorbike. It was a Vincent Black Shadow. The Black Lightning was not a road legal motorcycle. That's Merch Table Man, that voice. I think you'll find man who, strangely, regardless of where you go on the planet, has that exact accent. If you're in Shetland, Merch Table Man will speak like that. I think you'll find.
That's fantastic.
It was Peggy Seeger that said it in 1968.
Oh, very good, very good. And listen, are you still teaching songs? And you said you've got a Zoom coming up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I have. Yeah, I still teach songs, songwriting. One of the things I'm doing quite a lot is kind of like, if someone's going in to make an album, they'll come on and they'll have recorded just like phone versions of their songs, or maybe they've got they can do demos and stuff, and I'll say, I'll just listen through their songs and kind of help them shape them, which is what Boo does for me. Why is there a gigantic gap between the chorus and the second verse? What is that gap? What purpose does that serve? That song's in the wrong key for your voice. Just basically cutting out as much time as possible before they get to the studio. So they'll spend a little bit of money with me for a couple of hours, and it will save them hundreds and hundreds of pounds in the studio. And not only hundreds of pounds, time and stress. I want people going into the studio, like when I went into the studio with Boo, and I knew the songs really well. Didn't know them off by heart, but I knew them really well. I knew the form that I was playing them in, so I played them the same way 3 or 4 times so that we could cut between takes. I knew roughly the speed so that I could, even though I wasn't working to a click track, we could have the click track play for a few bars, so we sort of knew where we were going, and just make the process for them a little less fraught. So all they have to do is work with a producer and perform rather than do all of that work. So I've had quite a few people I've done that with, and quite a lot of them have gone to work with Angus or Chris Pepper, and both Angus and Chris have sort of said to me separately, what a difference that makes. Just the day is we're rattling through material, their confidence is up. There's very little that we need to do, and if we do hit on something, it's just not a problem. They know. They're not feeling sort of scared or overly protective of the material, so they have enough headspace to take on changes in the studio, because I think the studio can be quite an intimidating environment for people.
Do you still run actual songwriting courses?
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. So I'm doing some with Donna Machocha and Tracy Ann Campbell from Camera Obscura. I've got a couple of online ones, and then Folkestone Songwriting Festival. I'm very involved with that. That's a brilliant weekend, highly recommended. That's in October. And then Lorraine from Folkestone, she's fantastic person, brilliant songwriter in her own right. As well, she is doing a thing called Wild Swimming in Song in June. Is it? Oh, I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but that's going to be in the Lake District. I'm doing that with Pete Astor, who was in a band called The Loft, on various other projects. But Yeah, that's going to be... We did that before and it sold out in a week. And it was in the winter, so it was freezing cold. So this is one in the summer, so it should be a little bit more... it should be a lot more pleasant for the swimming portion. But it's just a beautiful place to go. And, the focus of... Obviously, we were writing songs, but just the focus was on like hanging out and chilling out and enjoying the scenery, but also getting a bunch of work done. So... Yeah, in fact, the last one I did was with Dave Hook from Stanley Odd, and it was a brilliant weekend. So yeah, and usually I'll get a Maniac Moore teaching week as well every couple of years. But yeah, I still run them. The thing is, it's really good if you're a busy person and you go on a songwriting retreat, you'll write a bunch of songs, but you'll also just get that little sort of boost of like, there are other people in this world that do the same thing as me. So you learn a lot from the other people and you kind of make a little family almost for a week. And then that keeps going and some people end up doing really well. So we've got a lot of people that have been on these courses that have gone on to release albums. One of them, the most amazing one, by the way, is we did a night class from Bird on the Wire, and it was so Bird on the Wire. So they are called Drunks in a Midnight Choir, and all of them still co-write and collaborate. I've got a WhatsApp group on my phone, so they're like constantly chatting to each other on this WhatsApp group. All of them, apart from one, has released an EP or CD. All of them are out doing wee gigs and bits and pieces. And one of them lives in San Francisco, and they've booked a house in Yorkshire a few times, and everybody's met up together and hung out and had a songwriting retreat. So these are people that met online on a night class and continue to continue to keep the thing going. And that's like a big community that's producing a lot of stuff. And, they might not be names that you've heard of, but you will start hearing of them more and more. These get played on the radio. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a really wonderful thing to see. But it's that community is the thing that's been the most exciting thing for me that has grown out of it. These people that have made friends and ended up hanging out. It's a brilliant thing.
And that's amazing. And so just to clarify, Bird on the Wire was an online course you ran with yourself and Boo Hewerdine.
Uh-huh.
And if anyone wants to find out about any of the stuff that you do, you have a newsletter at findlaynapier.com that people can join up.
Yeah, so if you either go to findlaynapier.com, or the one that I say from stage, because it's a wee bit easier, is I also have fnapier.com, because sometimes people spell my name wrong. Frequently, they spell my name wrong. So fnapier.com, that just takes you to a newsletter sign up. I send out about one newsletter a month. I suspect that this month, because the album's coming out, I'll send out more than one. I'll maybe even send out two. And then some months I forget to send it out, or I don't get round to it. But yeah, I'm a regular newsletter sender-outerer. And, all of the other stuff I do, like the Magpie Arc, all of that kind of stuff, all the songwriting retreats, the online workshops, pretty much everything. Photographs of me running around in the hills with my dogs. All of that is, and also I tell you what, I put on, and some people get into it, some people don't, but I put on like the music I've been listening to recently and anything I've been reading or watching, because all of that feeds into my songwriting. So I'm kind of, I like to sort of go and listen to this person. I think they're really good,
Well, that's fantastic, Finlay. So fnapier.com.
Yeah. I mean, findlaynapier.com if you can spell. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's totally brilliant. And I'm so happy that you've this brand new album, Outsider, is out. It's amazing to see. And I really hope that, I suppose that my final question is, what's next after this is out? Is there anything that you're curious to explore?
Well, I always wondered what it would be like to make money. So I'm thinking, I think I'm flirting with the idea of getting a job in the post office, which would fit in really well with my running schedule. No, I think the next thing is I need to get some gigs. So they'll be gigging. The Magpie Arc are in the process of making an album. I like a proper, no holds barred folk rock album. It's sounding very good, what I've heard so far. So I'm quite excited about that. We're doing more traditional material with that as well, with the full rock band. So that's quite exciting. And then I need to do another Story Song Scientists album, EP with Megan Henwood. And then I've got I've got loads of songs I haven't recorded yet as an album. So I need to start thinking about which pot to fill to the brim to make the next album, really. And I actually, the writing of the book was very hard going, but something clicked. And I've been reading a couple of books. I've just been reading Boff Wally's new book, Boff from Chumbawamba. His new book is called But, and that has sort of reinvigorated my desire to write a bit more. So I think whatever I do next, I don't know if it'll be a 150-page, coffee table book, but I think whatever I bring out, I'm going to bring out at least a small book, because I really enjoyed that. It was good fun writing it. I had quite a good laugh. I should say, a guy who is a fan who had pledged for the book messaged me and said, I think you're struggling with this book. I am a proofreader and editor. And he volunteered his skills as a donation to the project. So that had a massive impact, and it made me go, I would like to pay that man to do that again. Because that was it was brilliant having somebody who could just sort of cut through the crap, and also my spelling and grammar are not great. So yeah, I'd love to do more of that.
Well, what a lovely way to end. What an exciting future ahead. Money, albums.
Money. No money. Just keep on gigging until the money runs out. Yeah.
and maybe possibly about your first novel.
Oh no, I'm not doing a novel. That's the thing I've realised. I'm definitely not doing a novel. I'm going to write. I love this idea of lots of little stories, which is kind of what I've already done in that book. But I love that idea of
saying that, Finlay, there has not been a detective set in Arran and Broddick yet. Maybe there's something, maybe some blood and gore to come to Broddick.
Oh, I know, yeah, God, actually, that would be quite a good thing. I'll write that down. By the way, you were asking about the Boo Hewerdine thing. That was your idea. So you are wholly responsible for this, the arc of this thing, where you said to me, what are you going to do? And I literally put my head in my hands and went, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. And he was like, and you went, have you considered getting career mentoring funding from Creative Scotland? I was like, I don't even know what that is. And that's how I met Boo. And that's how I started working with Boo. And all of this stuff that has happened is because of that. So thank you very much.
Well, it's my pleasure. You've gone on and you've taken it to the next level. So
it's what we were supposed to do.
It is.
Like, for all the people that slag off Creative Scotland, I would like to just say, I know that they annoy you, but that actually worked. Like, it really did work. That mentoring thing moved everything up a level for me. And here I am, 10 years later, it's still going.
Yeah, and I'll obviously stand up for Hands Up for Creative Scotland and support Hands Up for Trad and all our work. But I mean, we are so lucky in Scotland to have a national arts organisation that cares about us, and actually is very oversubscribed. There's not a lot of money, but they're still there helping people making albums. And I know that they gave you some money towards your crowdfunder as well.
That's right. They crowd matched this, which is how I was able to make it into such a huge thing. But I think the ability, the thing that struck me, I was talking to someone about it just the other day. It was doing another podcast thing, and I was talking about you guys helping me get the mentoring with Boo. And I said, I think some people are unaware of the fact that you, and they're not just Hands Up for Trad, but there are other organisations, the forms that you have to fill out for Creative Scotland are a nightmare. And they are like, I could not have done it on my own. I'm a reasonably intelligent person and I'm reasonably eloquent, but I could not have done it without your guys' help. And I think if if people are looking to do funding things, getting you guys to coach them through the form, it's gold dust, and you're able to do that because Creative Scotland help you with funding. But
and I suppose we'll get a big shout out to Persephone, who works with me at Hands Up for Trad, who definitely enabled that form filling skill for you.
Yeah, and it is a skill, and she taught me to do it, and now I'm able to, if someone sends me something, I can do a bit of, I can't do a full Percy, but I can do a partial Percy for people. I can see things where I'm like, you're completely off the ball here. So it also, it taught me how to fill out those forms to a degree. But yeah, like I would say to anybody, like this has been 10 years since I started working with Boo, and it's like a fair few projects that I've got through, and had it not been for the sort of like jump start that I'd got from Hands Up for Trad back then, I wouldn't be sitting here right now looking at Goatfell out of my studio window.
Well, that's great, Finlay. I really appreciate you coming on today. And if anyone's interested, if they're wanting to join the newsletter or buy the album and the book, the link to Finlay's website is in the comments below. I'll see you later, Finlay.
Great to chat to you. Thanks so much for having me on.